Run your finger across a shower door caked in hard water buildup sometime, and tell me it doesn't feel exactly like sandpaper. That's not soap scum you're feeling. That's mineral, sitting right there on your glass, building up one drop at a time every single time the water dries. My own shower door got so bad a while back that I could barely make out the tile pattern on the other side of it. And I'm talking about glass I clean every week without fail. Weeks and weeks of our hard well water doing its work. And one morning I stood there with my coffee going cold in my hand and thought, that's it. I'm dealing with this today. Because when you can't see your own hand through a pane of glass anymore, you've got more than an eyesore on your hands. You've got a real problem. What I'm going to show you today does not scratch the glass, does not eat through the rubber seals around your shower door, and does not touch the finish on your chrome fixtures either. And it costs somewhere around $4 or $5 to mix up a whole spray bottle that'll carry you through months of regular upkeep after that first deep clean. No scrubbing pads, no working your shoulder till it aches, and nothing you need to order special or wait on delivery for. Everything sits in a kitchen cabinet or a hardware store shelf you've already walked past 100 times. My name is Linda. I've been keeping house for over 40 years now, and for a good long stretch of that, my husband Earl and I ran a 60-room motel just off the highway in Florida. 60 rooms means 60 bathrooms, and every last one of them had glass or tile that our water down there just loved to chew on. Earl used to say the pipes at that motel were hard enough to grow rocks in if you let the water sit too long, and he wasn't exaggerating by much. I never once bought a fancy glass cleaner off a store shelf to keep ahead of that buildup. Never had the budget for it, not with 60 rooms to keep presentable and a family to raise on one paycheck. I learned what actually cuts through hard water deposits because I had no other choice in the matter. And what I'm going to walk you through today is the exact same method I still use on my own shower door all these years later. By the end of this video, you're going to have the full method, step by step, with the real cost of every single thing in it, so you can get your own shower glass looking close to brand new again this weekend if you want to. And here's the part that ought to bother you a little bit. What actually works on this problem has been sitting in most people's kitchens the whole time. It's cheap, it's about as simple as cleaning gets, and in my experience, it does a better job than most of what gets sold specifically to fix this exact issue. Nobody's out there hiding this from you on purpose. I want to be clear about that. They just don't make any money telling you a $4 bottle from the cleaning aisle beats the $12 one with the fancy label and the picture of a sparkling shower on the front. So stay with me, because by the end of this, you're going to look at that dull, cloudy glass door of yours completely different. Here's what most folks get wrong before they even get started, and I made this exact mistake myself for years. People reach for bleach first, or whatever's the strongest smelling thing sitting under the sink, figuring the harshest cleaner they own is bound to cut through anything. But that white crust building up on your glass isn't grease, and it isn't mildew. It's mineral, plain and simple. Mostly calcium carbonate that was dissolved right there in your water the whole time you were showering. Bleach does absolutely nothing to mineral deposits. You can spray it on, let it sit as long as you like, scrub until your arm gives out, and that buildup is still going to be sitting there just as rough as when you started, because you're using the wrong category of cleaner entirely for the problem you're trying to solve. The other mistake, and I understand exactly why people make it, because that buildup feels so rough under your hand, is reaching for a scrub pad or steel wool to knock it loose by force. That's precisely how you end up with fine scratches all over your glass. And once glass is scratched, mineral buildup collects in those little grooves even faster than it did before. So the very thing you did trying to fix the problem ends up making the next round of it worse. Now, if you've ever picked up an old-fashioned trick like this one and found yourself thinking, Why did nobody tell me this years ago? That's exactly the reason I put these videos together. If an old housewife's tricks are worth a few minutes of your time, go on and hit that subscribe button and give this a thumbs up. It tells me you want more of these. And believe me, I've got plenty saved up from 40 years of doing this the hard way, so you don't have to. Let's get into the actual method, because I don't like handing anyone a trick without explaining exactly how and why it works. Hard water buildup, what most folks call lime scale, is mostly calcium carbonate, along with a little bit of magnesium mixed in depending on where your water comes from. Those are minerals that were dissolved in the water the whole time, completely invisible, right up until the water evaporates off a surface and leaves those minerals behind. Do that every single day for weeks on end, and you get the thick, rough crust you're probably staring at in your own bathroom right now. Because it's a mineral deposit, what actually breaks it down is acid. That's just basic chemistry, nothing complicated about it, and the acid I've trusted for decades, long before I ever thought to look up why it worked, is plain white vinegar. You don't need the fancy bottled kind with a pretty label either. Regular 5% white vinegar from the grocery store will do the job just fine, but if you want to cut your working time down, look for cleaning vinegar, which usually sits near the laundry aisle rather than with the cooking vinegars, and runs about 30% acidity instead of 5%. It costs a couple dollars more, but a gallon jug of it will run you somewhere around $5 or $6 total, and that one jug is going to last you months of regular shower upkeep, not just this one deep clean. Now, vinegar by itself does a fine job on plain mineral buildup, the kind that's mostly just hard water deposits. But if your glass has that hazy, slightly greasy film mixed in with the water spots, which happens from soap and body wash residue baking onto warm glass day after day, vinegar alone can leave a bit of a streaky finish behind. That's where I add rubbing alcohol into the mix. I mean the cheap isopropyl kind you'll find at any drugstore, grocery store, or hardware store for $2 or $3 a bottle. Alcohol is what's called a solvent, and what that means in plain terms is it dissolves oils and soap residue and then evaporates away clean, without leaving a film behind, which is exactly the piece the vinegar can't handle on its own. Here's exactly how I mix it and use it, step by step. Take an old spray bottle, any bottle you've got left over from a cleaner you used up, and rinse it out good so there's no residue from whatever was in there before. Fill it about 3/4 of the way with your cleaning vinegar, and top off the last quarter with rubbing alcohol. That works out to roughly 3 parts vinegar to 1 part alcohol. And I want to stop right here and say something important, because safety matters more than any cleaning trick ever will. Never ever mix vinegar with bleach, and never mix any acid-based cleaner with bleach either, because that combination creates a dangerous gas that you do not want to be breathing in a closed bathroom. Vinegar and rubbing alcohol together are perfectly safe. That reaction is mild and just fine to work with, but always rinse a surface clean of bleach before you ever bring vinegar near it. And never store the two side by side where they might get mixed up by accident. Once you've got your bottle mixed, label it right away, before you set it down anywhere. I learned that lesson the hard way back when my kids were small enough to get into anything left within reach under the sink. Doesn't matter how careful you think you're being, an unlabeled spray bottle in a house with children or grandchildren around is asking for trouble, so label every single one, every single time, no exceptions. Spray the glass generously, top to bottom, really soaking the worst spots where the buildup is thickest. Then leave it completely alone for about 5 minutes. Don't wipe right away, no matter how tempting that is. That waiting time is where the actual work happens, giving the acid time to break down the mineral bonds on its own instead of you having to do that work with your arm and a scrub pad. While that's sitting, I usually go start a load of laundry or run water for the dishes, something to keep my hands busy, so I'm not tempted to rush back in and wipe it too soon. After the 5 minutes are up, take a plain damp cloth or a regular kitchen sponge, nothing abrasive at all, and wipe the glass down. You'll feel the difference the moment your hand touches it. That sandpaper roughness starting to turn smooth right under your fingers. For buildup that's been sitting for months or longer, you may need a second application and another 5-minute wait, and that's completely normal. It's still faster, cheaper, and a whole lot easier on your body than an hour of scrubbing with the wrong product ever was. Once you're satisfied, rinse the whole thing down with plain water, dry it off with a paper towel or an old dish towel, and finish with a clean microfiber cloth for a real streak-free shine. That last polish step matters more than people give it credit for. Skip it, and you'll swear the vinegar left spots behind, when really, that's just plain water droplets drying on their own before you got to them. This same mixture works just as well on your chrome shower fixtures and your faucet handles, anywhere hard water spots tend to collect, and it's gentle enough for ceramic tile too, though I'd always test a small hidden spot first on natural stone tile before treating the whole surface, because some stone doesn't hold up well against acid over time. That's something worth knowing before you go spraying it across an entire shower stall. If you run into a spot that just won't budge after 2 rounds of spraying and waiting, don't reach for a scrub pad out of frustration, because that's exactly how you end up scratching glass you've already put good work into. Instead, take a folded paper towel, soak it through with your vinegar and alcohol mixture, and press it flat against that one stubborn spot, so it stays wet and in contact with the glass a good deal longer than a quick spray would manage. Leave that sitting for 10 or 15 minutes instead of 5. I've done this plenty of times on spots that had been building up for years before I ever got to them, and letting the acid sit in direct contact that much longer, rather than just misted on and left to dry, makes all the difference on the truly stubborn buildup. Patience does more of the work here than muscle ever will, and that's a lesson that applies to a lot more than just shower glass, if you ask me. I remember the first time I worked all of this out, standing in my own kitchen with a few different bottles lined up on the counter, testing combinations on an old jar I keep around specifically for that purpose, before I ever trusted a new mixture on my actual shower glass. That's a habit I've held on to my whole life. Test a cleaning method somewhere small and low stakes before you commit your good glass or your good countertop to it. That habit alone has saved me more than one headache over the years, and it'll save you one too. Let me tell you plainly why all of this actually works, because I don't believe in teaching a trick without explaining the reasoning behind it. Vinegar is acetic acid, and acid reacts with calcium carbonate in a straightforward chemical reaction, breaking those mineral bonds apart so they lift away instead of needing to be scrubbed off by force. That's the same basic reaction, by the way, that happens when you drop a bit of vinegar onto a piece of chalk and watch it fizz right up. There's nothing mysterious about it. It's just chemistry that's been documented and put to use in households for a great deal longer than either one of us has been alive. Rubbing alcohol works on a different piece of the puzzle entirely. As a solvent, it breaks down oils and soap residue, the greasy film part of the buildup that vinegar on its own tends to struggle with. And because alcohol evaporates so quickly and so completely, it doesn't leave behind the streaky residue you'd get from an oil-based product. Put the two together, and you're addressing both halves of the problem, the mineral crust and the greasy film, in a single pass, instead of fighting each one separately with a tool that was never suited to it in the first place. None of this is new information either, and that's part of what I mean when I say nobody's out there hiding it from you. They just have no reason to bring it up. Using vinegar to cut through mineral deposits and household grime goes back generations, long before anyone was bottling specialty cleaners with a brand name on the front. It's the same basic principle that's been passed down in kitchens and laundries for longer than any of us have been alive. And the only thing that's really changed is that somebody figured out they could put a nicer bottle around it, add a bit of dye and fragrance, and charge you a good deal more for the exact same reaction. The chemistry underneath never changed one bit, only the marketing did. Now let's talk plain dollars, because that's usually where the real injustice in all this sits. A bottle of specialty glass and shower spray off the store shelf runs anywhere from $5 to $9. And here's the thing most folks don't realize when they buy one. A great many of those are formulated to be sprayed on a surface that's already clean, meant for daily upkeep to prevent buildup, not to actually break down deposits that have already had weeks or months to set in. I tried a well-known one of those on my own glass before I ever settled back into my old method, and it did next to nothing on buildup that had already taken hold, same as it would have done 15 years ago in one of our motel bathrooms. A descaling spray that's actually formulated to dissolve existing mineral buildup runs closer to $7 or $8 a bottle, and if you're keeping up with a household bathroom regularly, you'll go through one of those every month or two. My mixture costs around $5 to $6 for a whole gallon of cleaning vinegar, and another $2 or $3 for a bottle of rubbing alcohol. And that combination lasts me a couple months of weekly upkeep, on top of handling the deep clean I just walked you through. Do the math on that over the course of a year, and you're looking at maybe $25 to $30 total for my method, against somewhere north of $60 or $70 a year if you're buying a new bottle of a name brand descaling spray every month or two, the way the label suggests you should. We're talking pennies per use, against a company charging you $8 a bottle for something that, in my own experience testing it side by side, didn't even outperform what was already sitting in my kitchen cabinet the whole time. And that's before you even factor in the specialty scrub pads and the abrasive cleaners folks buy on top of that when the spray alone doesn't cut it, which it usually doesn't once buildup has really set in. I've seen shopping carts with 3 or 4 different shower cleaning products in them. One for the glass, one for the tile, one for the grout, and a scrub brush thrown in besides. When a single gallon of cleaning vinegar and a small bottle of rubbing alcohol will happily do the job of every one of those products combined. That's not me guessing either. That's 40 years of running a household on a tight budget and finding out the hard way which purchases were actually necessary and which ones were just clever packaging. I actually keep this exact ratio written down, along with a note on how to adjust it depending on how hard your particular water is, in my book, Linda's Homekeeping Handbook, if you'd ever rather have it in writing than have to remember it off a video. Nobody's plotting against you here. I want to say that plainly, because I don't believe in that kind of thinking. Companies just make more money if you keep buying a new bottle every single month. So there's simply no reason for them to go out of their way and tell you that plain vinegar does the job just as well, and in a lot of cases, better. My granddaughter Sadie came and stayed with us for a couple weeks one summer, and I remember her walking into my bathroom the second morning she was there and asking straight out why my shower door looked brand new when the one at home never did. I told her exactly what I've told you today, that it isn't about buying something new at all. It's about knowing what you already have in the house and using it the right way. She was probably more interested in whether we had anything sweet for breakfast that morning than in the lesson itself. She was only 7 at the time. But that's the kind of thing that stuck with me my whole life. The tools were always there, sitting in plain sight. Somebody just had to hand down knowing how to actually use them. And that's the whole reason I started making these videos in the first place. My own mother kept a bottle of vinegar under nearly every sink in her house, and she used it for everything from windows to countertops to the very same kind of buildup we've been talking about today. I didn't appreciate it much as a girl, watching her wipe down glass with something that smelled sharp enough to make your eyes water, but I understood it a good deal better once I had a house of my own to keep and 60 more besides it down at the motel. My mother-in-law used to tell me the same thing in her own way, that a clean house was never about what you could afford to buy, it was about what you knew how to do with your own two hands. That stayed with me through every single one of these tricks I share with you, this one included. It isn't about being able to afford a new bottle every month, it's about knowing what's already sitting on your shelf and trusting it. So here's what I want you to do this weekend. Grab a spray bottle you've already got sitting around the house and rinse it out good. Pick up a gallon of cleaning vinegar. That's roughly $5 or $6 at any grocery or hardware store. And a small bottle of rubbing alcohol. Another $2 or $3 on top of that. Mix up 3 parts vinegar to 1 part alcohol, right in that bottle, and label it clearly before you set it down anywhere, especially if there are kids or grandkids in the house. Spray your shower glass heavy, paying extra attention to the worst spots. Then walk away and leave it be for a full 5 minutes. Don't rush that part, no matter how tempting it is. Come back, wipe it down with a plain cloth or a soft sponge. No scrub pads and nothing abrasive. Rinse it clean with plain water, dry it off, and finish with a microfiber cloth for the shine. If you've got buildup that's been sitting for months, plan on a second round. That's completely normal and nothing to worry about. And if there's one especially stubborn spot that just won't let go, remember the paper towel trick and give it that extra 10 or 15 minutes of direct contact instead of fighting it with a scrub pad. And once your glass is clean, a quick wipe down with a squeegee or a towel right after every shower is going to keep it from getting anywhere near that bad again, which is a whole lot easier than doing this whole deep clean over and over. A squeegee costs about $3 or $4 and takes maybe 15 seconds to run over the glass before you step out. And that one small habit is honestly the biggest difference between a shower door that stays clear for months and one that crusts right back over in a couple of weeks. It's the same principle Earl always applied to the plumbing at the motel. A little bit of regular upkeep saves you a whole lot of hard work down the road. And it holds just as true for a pane of glass as it does for a run of old pipe. I'd love to know how this works out for you. Tell me in the comments where you're from and what kind of water you're dealing with at your place. Hard well water, city water, whatever the case may be. Because I read every single one of those comments, and I genuinely love hearing about it. If little tricks like this one are useful to you, I put this entire system, along with dozens more that I picked up over my years running a household and helping keep a 60-room motel presentable, into a little book called Linda's Homekeeping Handbook. There's a link right down in the description below if you'd like the whole collection in one place, written down plain and simple. Next time, I'm going to show you the trick I used for years to keep bath towels from going stiff and scratchy on the line, something that took me far too long to figure out myself. And it's got everything to do with what's actually happening to those fibers while they dry out in the sun. You won't want to miss that one. The women who kept this country's homes running knew things were only just starting to remember.